Welcome back. Really quick video today. I just wanted to quickly jump on and talk to you about 5 things that I wish that I knew when I first started my fitness journey, with the hope that you'll sort of like look at a video like this, maybe recognize some of these things that you might be doing yourself and save yourself some time and not repeat the same mistakes that I did. So the first mistake that I made was wasting time by trying to do too many things at once. So at one point in my fitness journey, I was focusing on building muscle, running a 5K, doing yoga, teaching spin, using all these different methods which were just conflicting with each other and cancelling each other out. So it just meant that I was like pedaling and doing lots of movement, but not actually moving any closer towards my goal. And the thing is, when you first start your fitness journey, you may find that you get that sort of like newbie gains thing where you can sort of like build muscle and burn fat at the same time, and you can do all the things and get lots of benefit from it. So I think when I first started the gym, I was a late starter to the gym. I didn't start doing any sort of fitness until I was about 16. Apart from like PE, and honestly, if it wasn't like rounders or swimming, I was always finding a reason not to do PE. I didn't play any team sports or anything like that. So literally, when I first got active, it was when I was 16. I left school and I joined the gym. So yeah, I was a late starter and I did get lots of benefits as soon as I started training. But I kind of extended that period for way too long. So the first 5, 6, 7 years perhaps of my fitness journey, I was doing all the things at the same time. I wasn't periodizing my training, and so I wasn't actually moving towards any goal very quickly. I did make some good progress in all the things that I was doing, but I can't help but think, you know, if I'd really sort of focused on one thing at a time, how much more progress I would have made and how much more quickly I would have got there. So generally now I'm either focused on losing body fat or building muscle. I don't try and do both at the same time. Reason being as well, now that I have been training for such a long time, the more mature you get on your fitness journey, the harder it is to do that. So yes, of course you can do it to some degree, but if you want maximum muscle gains, if you want maximum strength gains, and you want maximum fat loss gains, you want to separate those things and do them in isolation. Number 2, spending way too long in a dieting phase. So when I was a child, I was overweight. Probably would have been classed as obese actually, or very overweight on the BMI chart. Also asthmatic, so when I was younger, I was taking a lot more of my asthma medication. That's steroids essentially, to make you hold on to a lot of body weight as well. So I was a chubby child, was a sturdy teenager. I won't say I was a fat teenager because, you know, once I started moving around and going out with my friends and stuff like that, spending more time outside, the weight did drop off, but I was still like a sturdy teenager. And then when I discovered the gym and I combined that with things like detoxes and, you know, counting calories, when I think back to what I used to eat when I was like 22, 23, literally I was like high on life then, right? So like I was literally running on adrenaline all the time, just like party girl. And so literally like my general day would consist of, you know, some fruit and yogurt for breakfast, a sandwich and a chocolate bar at lunchtime, and then something like a Nando's or some sort of protein with carb and vegetables in the evening. My dinner would always be at 6 o'clock because I was living at home then. And so yeah, I was kind of doing intermittent fasting as well, right? So yeah, at that time I didn't have any issues maintaining my weight whatsoever. Obviously hormones are on your side at that age as well, and like your activity levels and stuff as well. And so yeah, I was like, you know, had no issues maintaining my weight at that time. I had a good little bit of muscle on me as well because newbie gains, I was doing like body pump back then, so I had a good bit of muscle and like not that much body fat on me, size 8, without even really trying. So now that I know better, I know that what I did then was kind of set my set point, and I've almost decreased my metabolism. So even though I was quite able to maintain my physique at those low calories at that time, as my hormones started to change, as my activity started to change, I sort of always had that sort of default level of calories in my mind. So sort of like 1600 calories, that was like a baseline. And while I will happily go to 1600 calories on a diet phase now, I was literally eating 1600 calories or there or thereabout between the ages like 21 and 30. And you're basically chronically dieting for years and years and years. And of course, there'd be binges in there. Of course, not every day was 1600 calories, but I was essentially, as I say, mostly in a dieting phase for all that time. So on top of that, you know, I was trying to add muscle. I was trying to do all these activities that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, my metabolism would have adapted. And so it took a long time when I started really focusing on bodybuilding and strength training. It took me a long time to, one, be comfortable with eating more food, and two, for me to actually be able to eat more food without just piling on a load of body fat. So yeah, that was my second mistake. That would be unconsciously, chronically dieting. Number 3, clean eating is not necessarily lean eating. So when I was about 24, 25, I had some very serious systemic inflammation issues going on. I was highly stressed at work, and I had some really bad gut issues going on, which manifested in an awful rash that went all over my body. This is when I started to become more interested in, you know, what I was actually putting into my body, detoxes. The way that I actually healed my issue was to do a 30-day cleanse. Just intuitive at the time, but now it's almost like a restoring program. I quit my job, I fasted, I did a 30-day cleanse, and I basically just spent that whole 30 days to 6 weeks meditating, resting, basically convalescing. Lots of like really restorative practices like saunas, castor oil packs, you know, all these sort of really healing practices, which was really good. And as I say, at the time, it was just based off of my own research, and it was like really restorative. Looking back on it now, there are definitely things that I would have done differently, but essentially I didn't have any knowledge back then. It was just something that I kind of knew that my body needed. So fast forward a couple of years, I thought to myself, I actually really want to study this properly. So I went on to study naturopathic nutrition for 3 years. And this is when I got to really understand about all the benefits of the different nutrients that you get from your food. And of course, you know, I was always trying to make sure I was incorporating those into my diet. So there was a period when I was like super healthy. My skin was really amazing, glowing, but the body weight was just going up and up. And what I was eating wasn't necessarily right for my digestive environment at the time. So I was getting like a lot of digestive discomfort, even though it'd be really frustrating for me because, you know, like the body weight was going up, my stomach was playing up, I was always bloated. And it was really frustrating because it's like, you know, I eat really clean, I eat really healthily. But that's one thing that I've really come to realize more so over the last couple of years, actually, since I've been focusing on more like a sports nutrition mindset, eating around my fitness goals rather than like my wellness goals. Of course, I do that as well. But now I very much focus on, you know, now that I'm more focused on my macros and things like that. And since I've made that shift, I've really realized that clean eating is not lean eating. And actually, when you're eating for wellness, you're more eating to like build up your body. Whereas when you're eating for fat loss, you're, you know, doing the opposite. So if you are eating really healthily, that's great. But just make sure that you're still tracking those calories and you're still tracking those macros and making sure that they are appropriate for what your body goals are. For training towards a cookie cutter program rather than doing something that was designed for me and took into account my personal profile. It's really easy to like, especially now that we've got like things like Instagram and all this social media with all these fitness influencers on there, it's very easy to look at what somebody else is doing, look at her before, look at her after, and think, yep, she kind of looks how I did before, and now she looks how I want to look, so I'm going to follow basically exactly what she does. It doesn't take into account your personal profile, it doesn't take into account your lifestyle, your stress levels, your resilience, all those sorts of things. They do need to come into account when you're doing a fitness program. And for me, the biggest example that this has shown up in is my training frequency. Now, of course, this is just an example, but on a typical powerlifting and strength building program, you might be training 4 or 5 times a week. For me, I don't make strength gains if I train 4 or 5 times a week. It's just too much for my nervous system. And again, you know, this is because of my personal profile, my history, the fact that I've been eating 1600 calories for most of my training life. But because of that, I haven't been able to optimally build muscle throughout those 10 years that I was eating, you know, too few calories. So that real sort of like muscular foundation isn't necessarily there. So even though I've got that sort of almost like natural strength to me, that really solid foundation that I could have been building over those 10 years, it isn't there. That stress accumulates not only over the day, but over the week, over the month, over the years. So if you think about the amount of stress that I was putting my body through over those 10 years, unknowingly, you know, my body may not have recovered from all that yet before I'm now going into powerlifting. So you really need to take into account your own history, and that goes for your nutrition, any sort of like major stresses that you've been through in your life. Things like that are really going to play a massive part in the way that you structure your training program and what you're going to get the most out of. So that'll be my tip number 4, is to make sure that you're following a program that's tailored to you. And if you're not getting the results from the program that you're doing at the moment, there's a discussion to be had. You might need to pare things back, and you might be doing things that feel opposite to what you thought you should be doing, which was very much the case with me, because, you know, I was really reluctant to drop my sessions down from 4 weeks. But as soon as I did, my strength started going up and I started accelerating towards my goals. And finally, it will be make sure that you're doing it for you. At the end of the day, this is something that you're going to be committing a lot of your time, a lot of your life to, a lot of your energy to. It needs to be something that is authentic to you, and not for anybody else. So, you know, if you've got like a partner that needs you to lose weight, yeah, that might inspire you to start with, but it's not going to keep you going. So if you actually only play your team sport because you like the social aspect of it, and you like the fact that you get to interact with your team, yes, that might make you sign up. Yes, that might keep you showing up every week. But just don't be surprised if you're not actually progressing towards your goal. But just don't be surprised if you don't see any progress towards a fitness goal. Throughout my powerlifting journey, I faced a lot of resistance. Friends, family, acquaintances, literally, you know, why are you doing that? Oh, you're going to hurt yourself. It's not feminine. So many different things. And as you can imagine, when it comes to dating, as soon as you mention you're a powerlifter, that guy is now sizing himself up. Oh, you know, or what can you lift, blah, blah. You got to make sure you're doing it for you, because if you're not doing it for you, as soon as you start to hear these things, you're going to start questioning yourself. As soon as that seed of doubt is planted, it's going to affect your commitment. It's going to have you sort of like showing up half-heartedly. And we don't want to be doing anything half-heartedly. Anything that we're doing, we're putting our full heart into it. So if it's something that you're not able to put your full heart into because you're doing it for somebody else or for some other reason, then just reconsider and just think about putting your energy elsewhere. So that's it for today. Just 5 little tips to help you on your fitness journey. These are just 5 things that I wish that I sort of like, you know, realized a bit sooner, because, you know, as much as I'm really happy with the progress that I make in my fitness journey today, if I'd known these things right at the beginning, then who's to say where I would be now. So this is what I hope that this video will bring to you. And I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.